Welcome back to episode number 2 of my Transport Fever 2 series here on Tropical Paradise. I first of all need to say a massive thank you to everybody who watched the first episode. The support on that was absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen that video yet, then please go down into the description below where you will find a playlist. To summarise in that video, we started off by building the map. The map took quite a while and I really explained why I wanted to build this map the way I did in the scenario that we are playing in, to give you a bit of background context and sort of provide a story to what we're going to be doing. And then I also detail the map itself, talk through it and how I've laid it out. And very much in that first episode as well, we started to do a little bit of connecting up. We connected up the largest town, Forest, via bus to Barra and North End. And then we also started to provide the town of Longhope in the middle of the map with construction materials. In this episode, my plan is to try and expand upon that. I want to do a bit more with boats, hence the title. I also want to go and work on trying improving our routes that we've currently built. I realise a lot of them were already at quite a good capacity, so I want to make sure we're maximising our profits as much as possible, because in this early game we're not going to have a lot of money. We're going to have to take out a loan at some point, and when we do, I want to make sure that we are not getting ourselves into too much debt. I am really excited about what we are going to be doing in this episode. I want to try and move more people, and eventually maybe in 2 or 3 episodes I want to try and build a railway line. That's sort of my short-term goal for now. If we can try and get a bit more cargo into some of our cities as well and make sure cargo doesn't fall behind passenger routes, then that would also be fantastic. Anyway, enough talking, let's get on to some live gameplay. Welcome your faces to today's live gameplay as we come out of the forested foliage. We are currently at the Barra fuel refinery because this is an option that we may consider this episode. Welcome back to Tropical Paradise live gameplay. So in the last episode we went ahead and connected up the towns of Forest, North End and Barra. That has been quite successful and we'll get onto that in a second. And then also we've got quite a bit of work which went into moving over stone over to the construction material plant here on the island of Longhope, which now serves Longhope and is doing relatively well. So there's a lot of room for expansion here, which is fantastic, and in this episode we're going to try and continue to make these routes quite profitable, just take them from their current state right now, which is quite interesting actually looking at this. So we are all in the profit, which is fantastic, but let's try to go to the extra level, especially with the demand on some of these routes. Passenger routes are doing phenomenal, and then we can actually start to look at pre-building a few things, maybe connecting up some more of the construction materials maybe to some other different towns, and I'm not at all sure what else. I mean, those are my plans for this episode anyway. If we can maybe connect in 1 or 2 more towns, that would also be fantastic. So the one thing that is going to be a bit of a nuisance though is my financial situation. The financial situation is something which is quite difficult to observe right now just because we're still in the early stages. We know overall earnings wise we are making money, we know that because of our routes, so I'm quite happy about that. But in terms of the loan interest, for example, that's sitting at 49,000 a year. I'm going to take a larger loan this episode so we can fund a lot of this building, but we just need to make sure we are on top of things. As we can see, for the December 1950 to February 1951, we can see we're clearly in the profit. The water is really sort of cancelling out the loan, so we are making about 430-40 total profit, which is fantastic, but I've not really done much building in that time, so it's going to be interesting to follow while we continue to do some building. Right, let's get started then. So welcome back to the town of Forest, essentially our largest city. Looking back at this graph again, we're doing phenomenally well, which is great. We're going to add in some more buses. I'm not really just going to modify the routes. I don't feel they need modified as of yet. We can look into that later, but we just need to meet demand right now. And for that, we got a lot of people waiting at a lot of bus stops here. So 9th Street, we've got people waiting to actually go both directions, which is really interesting. And it might be a consideration to add in an internal bus in with Forest, because I don't necessarily want people getting on that bus just to go the 2 stops into the Forest sidings, the main bus station for example. And then similarly, we've actually only got people wanting to go to North End at this bus stop, so that's actually interesting to know. People want to go to North End a lot, which is fantastic. So let's go and meet this demand by adding in a few new vehicles. Now, I'm not really going to chop or change too much, to be honest. I think I'm going to stick with the vehicles that I purchased for the routes for the time being, and then we might do an upgrading at a later stage. So I'm going to be quite ambitious, and we're going to put on a set of 3 buses on to our yellow route down to Forest, which should help clear out this bus stop, for example. There's alone there over 30 people waiting. I've added 30 capacity with those 3 buses, which is good. And then I'm also going to do the same. I'm going to buy 3 buses, and they're going to be deployed onto our red route. We'll come back to this later on in the episodes, and we'll see how they're doing. Financially though, I'm just expecting them really to continue to grow. It's nice to see we've got a frequency down to a reasonable time as well. That is fantastic to see. Down at Barra, things aren't too busy, but I do just want to try and move everybody. I really shouldn't have anyone moving. Every single person who is waiting, that is a missed opportunity, which we need to try and work on. What is the population of Barra these days? So it's sort of stagnated out again. When we started, I think it was 84 in total, so it has really grown, which is good. Its target population is only 67, so that's interesting to note, but I think once we actually start to supply some goods into the town, then that will be fantastic. Let's return over to our stone route then, because our stone route, it was doing quite well. However, Longhope, how are we doing? So we're not really quite there in terms of meeting the supply demands. So as you can see where my mouse is, we're currently at 37 out of 85. Residents are going up, which is fantastic. This is quite a large town. We're going to try and connect it up probably over to the Forest and Barra area in this episode. I think that'd be a really good thing to do. But I think we've just got a lot of stuff to move. We've got plenty of construction materials which can be moved out of here, so we need to meet that demand. Currently, I believe we've only got 2 trucks moving the construction materials from this port area at the top into the town itself, and that needs to change. What we're going to do then is we're also going to buy some more vehicles. Cargo wise, we went for the Gaz MM with stakes. That carries quite a few things, but construction material is one of those. So that means we're going to buy, I'm going to be ambitious here again, I'm going to buy another 3, and you can see why now we're going to need to take a loan quite shortly. Fortunate thing is that all the routes that we're running right now are in the profit quite well, but for the time being we just need to make sure that we're not, what's the word, what's the best way of saying it, you know, we are spending a lot of money at once, you know, we need to make sure that there's enough time after we actually add in new vehicles, we build new routes for them to build up money. So what I'm thinking of doing is, because we've got our port up here, or our cargo port for example, I might add in a passenger port up here and then try connect over to Barra. I think that might be quite a good idea because Barra has got a really nice coastline which we could connect into. This would also give Barra a nice boost because I expect more people to be passing through the town. And also Barra eventually will connect up to the town of East Acton, so I do think that having a coast or a port on this coast, this beachfront would be a fantastic idea. Right next to this bus stop as well here at Fassel Road. Now, the only thing I could consider is that we could have a harbour somewhere different. We might have a few harbours for Longhope, to be honest. I think that's quite likely. Might have a separate one along here for the town of Queensland. We then might have another separate one over here to serve down to Southampton, Sea Shanty, Montrose and Winchester. So Longhope's sort of on the island, and where it is situated on the island, it's sort of got water access at all sides, and it could use that to its advantage. The thing with Longhope as well is it is just in the middle of the map, which is fantastic, and that means it's going to be a really well connected city, which I'm looking forward to building all those connections slowly but surely. Okay, right, so let's go and make those changes then. What I want to do is I want to just connect straight into Barra because we've already got a lot of the infrastructure built up in this island here with Forest and Barra itself. We just need to make some changes down at Longhope. So what we're going to do is we are going to grab ourselves a passenger harbour. Now, I've just realised that this is going to cost me a lot of money, which I'm not always the biggest fan of. But what we can do here is we can hopefully get that in there perfectly beside the bus stop, which is fantastic. And then this here has one terminal. We're in navigatable waters. that will do for now. When we connect in East Acton, for example, in the distance over there, then we'll add in a second. Now, because we don't have a lot of money, I do have an option here. I can actually expand this cargo port and continue to use this port, but I don't think I am actually going to do that, for the reason that we are going to, hopefully at some point, I've noticed that the town of Forest also likes construction materials, so we're going to have 2 ports in here for that anyway. And just where this port is situated, if we open up our navigatable waters overlay, I would need to really expand out a bit, and that's going to cost me a fair amount of money. We can have a look at different configurations, to be fair. So if we go for landing, so yeah, we need to go for some more cargo. So we need to build out the way, and I think it's just going to cost a lot of money, which I don't really want to deal with by extending that port. I'm going to leave that as a separate cargo port, and we're going to have a separate passenger port over here. So this means we can use this road, we can have a bus coming up this road, connecting into Longhope, which I think will hopefully be a good idea, but only time will tell, I guess. So let's go and rotate this around now. This port can also be used eventually to connect over to East Acton, for example. I think that would be a great idea, just because East Acton is very much in the realm of this port as well, and that is maybe a time which we could look at connecting up sooner, but it really depends on the cargo demands and how I'm going to do cargo, and we'll talk about this a bit later in the episode today. Okay, so quite happy with this build. Now what we need to do is really get a boat onto this and then support connections into the town of Longhope. So we're going to start off by just building a turning circle, and this turning circle will be used by the buses, and we can make sure that we're not causing too much traffic on this road. I don't want to affect my cargo too much. Likewise, I don't want to affect the passenger routing too much either. So we'll try and make sure that our buses, they're going to stop right outside the port, and then I'm assuming these trucks will use this side bit here. Perfect. So when buses are stopped, it means the cargo vehicles, they can get past, they're not going to be blocked by them. That's my main concern there. Okay, so we're going to come down into the town of Longhope. Longhope being, I think, our second largest city. That is probably something worth noting, actually. Where are we at with our population and town statistics? So Forest first, yep, Longhope second, North End third. Not surprised at that, Montrose being the next biggest. I never realised how big Chisel Bay was, actually, so that's something which is interesting to note, because I'm in that sort of mindset of, do I connect up big towns first or small towns first? Big towns are going to get more money, but small towns will naturally fall behind. We know that from previous series I've done on the previous game, and the sooner you connect a town up, the more it'll grow. So if we are connecting up smaller towns last, they're not going to have as much growth opportunity, if that makes sense. Anyway, what we're going to do is, I have identified that I want to build a street here. I'm not probably actually going to use this street, but that's a nice option. It means now that the cargo vehicles can probably actually get into town a little bit faster, instead of going through the streets around about these skyscrapers, which is good, and that should actually speed up the frequency of that route, which is cool. Anyway, let's focus on putting down some bus stops so we can get some buses tooting around this town. So while we're at it, let's have a look at our overlay, and it's mainly residential I'm going to focus on, because this is a passenger route, so I'm not too bothered about cargo or anything like that. So we're mainly going to serve the residential area and try and maximise what is going on here. I don't want this bus to necessarily be a bus which moves people from the residential over to their jobs in either the industry or commercial. We can build a separate bus for that. I'm more really just focused on connecting up with the harbour and making sure that route becomes profitable. So let's build a bus stop coming in here. Let's build another bus stop, and I might want to expand some of these roads shortly, actually. So let's build another bus stop there. We'll build another one on the edge of the industry, and then I'm basically just going to do a circle around the remaining residential, and I think that should do the job, to be honest. That it's not too complicated, but it will connect up the passengers for the boat. So with that done, we can close that overlay now, and let's get into Line Manager, and let's connect this up and then get some basic buses on here. We'll get the boat probably going first, actually, just because I want to make sure it's starting to build up some demand. So So that's going to return nice and easy like so. I'm very quickly just going to name this. So this is the BU Longhope ferry route, which is fantastic. And while we're in Line Manager, let's go and make the relevant connection over to Barra as well. So that route there is our Barra to Longhope boat, which is good to go. So let's get a boat on it. This is our first passenger boat, which is exciting. So nice again to explore a lot of the different vehicles that we've got. We're not considering cargo right now, we are considering passenger, which is exciting. So what have we got here? We've got a lot of really old steamers, which I'm not surprised at. Cost wise, they're not actually as much as I really thought they were going to be, which is fantastic. Some of them are really expensive, but we're going to start off with a low capacity. I'm going to start off here with a lot of these still cargo ones? I mean, I suppose I can actually use these small ones, can I? For, it says capacity 72 compartments. Does that also mean passengers as well? Maybe it does, which is good. I think we are though going to go for the more passenger looking passenger boat, cargo type of passenger. I need to clarify that there, but we're going to go for this, the Front Enac, and I'm pretty sure this was at least in Transport Fever or as a mod. And that's only going to cost us 800,000. I say only 800,000, and the terms of boats, it's actually not too bad. So let's then go apply that onto our orange route, which is going to start sailing, which is good to go. So we'll let that start to build up. Currently we're playing on ×2 speed right now for the simulation, and date speed is going at a quarter. So for those who are interested. Buses. Now, it's going to be difficult to gauge how the demand for this is. That boat itself has a capacity of 85, which is quite a lot. Two quite large areas we're connecting up. Longhope, our second largest city, and even though we're going into Barra, that is really a feeder for the town of Forres is what it is. So what I'm thinking is we're probably going to go for something middle of the road. I think maybe the Fuso or even the C40, and the reason is because the C40, we're going to be going around the city quite a bit, we're going to be stop-starting, so I think the Fuso could be a good shout to start with, and we've also not gone for it before, so let's go for the C40, do something a little bit different, and we're going to start off with 3 of these on this route. So there we go, that is them out and about, looking quite nice. They are very much similar to a bus in Transport Fever. I can't remember, is it the Daimler maybe from Transport Fever? It was a white bus, but it also had the stairs going up the back and the seating on the top. Let me know down in the comment section below if that C40 bus reminded you of any other vehicles in the Transport Fever series. Let's make our way over to here now. We can see our ship making moves. Now, I am a bit concerned about 17 miles per hour because this boat has got a long way to go. So the frequency is going to be incredibly slow. So 19 minutes, that's my concern right now. And I'm a bit nervous that long term we are going to see it be quite profitable when it arrives. You know, it's get its big boost of money, however much that might be. But by the time it sails back over to the other island, it's now in the negative again. So we'll need to watch that one. Or we might need to add in 2 ferries, bring in a smaller boat which goes much faster, like a speedboat sort of idea. There was a really good mod in Transport Fever itself, which was like hovercraft idea, and that would be something which might be applicable on that route. Okay, so we're moving cargo out at a steady rate, which is good. Having a look here, we are not actually moving too much right now. It's only 14 out of 50, but that's probably because vehicles are coming back up from the town, which is fine. There's plenty to be moved, which is good. Our blocker though is probably on the stone movement actually. We have got a lot of production here, we've got a lot of stuff to move here. We have got the boat already on the move, that's 70 full there, and we've already got 54, 55 to move. So how is the capacity filling up in Longhope? Well, it's still needed. We still need to move more stuff. So what I'm thinking about doing is adding in a second boat and then maybe also a connection into the town of Forres, if that is the best thing to do. Though, would that be better to be moved from this construction material plant over at the other side of the island, or not? That's the real question. What I think we're going to do is I think we're going to extend this port as I talked about earlier on, and then we're going to get the boat to weave in between these islands here. This is why I got rid of a lot of the smaller islands, because we're going to have inefficiencies here, which I guess is part of the game, yes, but it would be nice just not to have them. And then we could have a port, for example, along the shores here, and then get some construction materials into the town of Forres. So before we get on to that building, which we'll do very, very shortly, we have got some passengers arriving on the boat here, which is really, really cool. So as we can see, this is a nice shot, this actually, as us pulling away from the docks. We can see we've got a few passengers on here. We've not got a lot of passengers, but this is the, I guess, first complete run, which is good. And we've got 4 passengers. So we're already losing a lot there, though. I don't know if you've seen the figure, but over 100,000. So we need to make sure that we're getting this nice and full quite quickly. Over on the other end, we are seeing some success. We've got 11 people waiting. Is that enough, though? I don't honestly know. In the town, we've got 16 people on the buses already. We seem to already have a lot of demands, but it is both directions. People are wanting to use this bus to go around the town, which I'm not really all too excited about, to be honest. A lot of people around these bus stops, yes, saying they want to go to the ferry terminal, but are they wanting to really go on to the ferry terminal? That's the real question, or are they just wanting to go around town? We'll have to wait and see, but just because of the initial wait, we'll at least still make money if we add a new vehicle. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to add in 2 more C40s. That will then bring the capacity of that route up to 40, a round number I believe, across 5 vehicles. It's already in the profit, which is fantastic, but we really need to just make sure we're moving enough people to get on this boat, because this boat, if we can fill it up, I'm sure it'll be really profitable, but if we can't, well, we're gonna have some problems. The other concern I've got then is at Forres. We need to move more people down to Barra, basically, from Forres, because this is where our other bottleneck is going to be. And this is where we might consider upgrading the buses. So right now on our Barra route, we have got basically full buses. I can add in 1 or 2 more, which I'll do right now. But we're at the stage where we're going to want to think about upgrading the capacity, because I don't want to have too many more buses on the road for this route, just for environmental concerns. And then also the frequency is 77, so it's just going to lead to a lot of traffic, as well as the noise pollution and emission pollution, which I don't think the environmental rating will be that great. Noise pollution on the road itself, it is, or the emission layer should I say, it's not just noise. It's doing not too bad, but there's a lot of people which live in with this area, so we need to try and either reduce that, reduce the number of vehicles, for example. There's a few different things we can do and explore going forward. We're at the stage now where I want to implement this Forest goods route. However, what I need to do is get some money, and for that we're going to take our loan. So we're going to increase the loan by 2.5 million for the time being. I'm not going to be too stingy about it. We are on medium, so we do have a loan limit. I don't actually know what that loan limit is, and I'm not going to look it up. I realise that you might post a comment on this series, but as I said in the introduction, I'm mass recording, so I will never know until I hit it, which will be a nice surprise, I'm sure. The thing is, we can see in our previous 3-month blocks now that we are financially doing a little bit. We're spending a lot of money is really what we're doing. You can see the investments. We have turned a profit in between the 6th month and 8th month of 1951. However, right now we are, yeah, I mean that's 400k, but a lot of that profits, investments, you know, we've spent a lot on investments, we're continuing to do so, and we're going to continue to do so even more. The docks, the boats, they've all cost quite a lot of money, but once that infrastructure is there, it's there for good, which is fantastic. We've interestingly got some planes, which I'm not going to consider for quite a few episodes yet, just until we get ourselves established. I don't really know how successful planes are in this game either. I've seen a few clips of them being quite successful on a few other people's Let's Plays, but I've also seen them being a bit negative as well, so it's interesting to note. And things are very, very busy down here. It's fantastic to see, but again, how many people are going to the port? I'm not too bothered about it right now. I think we've got enough buses in play. Okay, so with that said, let's now get ourselves a cargo port and try and have it in some nice navigatable waters. So what we're going to do is we are going to aim for it to be I'm just thinking we could always have a cargo port in between these two towns and have it for both of them, if that makes sense, instead of having it up at Forest. But would that be inefficient then? Possibly. Would it just be best to get it onto land and then as soon as it's on land move it all by truck? I mean, you would say yes, because the vehicles are going to be faster, road vehicles should I say, are going to be faster than the boat, but you've then got to consider that the boat can carry, you know, 8 times what a truck can carry right now, so, if not more. So I'm a bit torn, to be honest. Let's very quickly have a look at the makeup of this town, and of course, industry's on the wrong side of town, so we're going to have trucks nonetheless. So, based on that point, I'm going to go for I think we're just going to go for a neutral port between the two of them for the time being. That might change as time goes on, but for now, I think we're going to go for something like that. So let's grab ourselves a cargo harbour, let's pivot this around, and let's get that in nice navigatable waters right on the edge, which is fantastic. Next thing we need to do is build some road infrastructure. So back into streets, make sure we're actually selecting the right street, medium country road of 50 miles per hour. Now, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have a depot at the end of this road anyway, so that doesn't bother me too much. I wonder if any cars would actually use this road. I doubt cars would use this road, but if we roll right into there, that junction there, then I can imagine because the industry is around this part of town, most of the vehicles would go straight over at that crossroads, which could become a traffic concern later down the line. Now, with that road, we can build a road over to Barra as well. I think that is a good idea, just in case other vehicles do want to use this road. We can split the traffic, which would be a good idea. So let's have that coming along there for 27,000. Then it must drop down, do some weird terraforming there because we've got some inland sands, but I don't mind that, to be honest. It adds a bit of variety. Next thing we need to do is grab ourselves a wonderful truck station. Let's pivot this around and let's place that down there. I'm realizing that truck stations in this game are a lot of money, a lot of money, and that is nicely connected into the harbour, which is fantastic. So that is some of the logistics done at this end. We now need to work out where we're going to deliver stuff to in the town of Forest. So if we come back in and have a bit of a closer look, industry's built up round about here. Okay. So what I think I'm going to do is there's not really much empty space around here for me to build a cargo depot, which I'm going to do instead of bus stops and serve all of the yellow buildings. So I think we're going to do a little bit of destroying and then build behind what is going on here. So if we go for our city streets, if I can just get away with destroying one building there, which I think I can, then what we're going to do is we're going to build through here and then we're going to connect into there like so. Now I'm going to hope that, yeah, the AI is going to start to do some building, isn't it? I'm going to build this road here in hope that it will connect through to there. I'm not going to do that myself because that's going to cost 300 odd thousand. But what we can do now is we can grab our buildings and then our truck depot and place that in here. And then if we come out of this view, we can see that we're now covering quite a lot of these yellow buildings. And if this road in the centre of the screen connects through, then we've done a fantastic job and it will help connect up with some of the remaining buildings. And perfectly, what is the chances of that? And that's perfect. So we're now near enough serving everyone in the districts. Perfect. Did cost me a bit of money to do, but I'm sure it will be worth it long term. And I'm expecting a lot more industry to grow either side once we actually get the trucks into play. So let's start off by creating these routes very quickly. This route is going to be quite a long route actually, and we're going to have quite a lot of trucks. Good thing is though, we can put neutral trucks on and it can really carry all different kinds of cargo if we want. I'm going to reflect that point in the name of the route. It's going to be called the Forest Cargo Route. It's not going to be called the Forest Construction Materials Route because we will eventually use this to bring in other cargo and then maybe other commercial items as well. Though it looks like Forest, yeah, so it's looking for bread, which is a commercial item, not an industrial item, so I might have to split those routes, but we'll worry about that at a later stage. So with that done, we now need to create our boat route. Now this is going to be an interesting path because there's an island right in the middle, which is going to cause me possibly a few issues. And yeah, we're just going around the island, which fair enough. I mean, I wasn't expecting to go through the island, was I? So that would be a very, very weird one. But hey-ho. Right, that is a cargo. I'm going to sort out all the names at some point, to be honest. This is Longhope to sort of Barra and Forest, to be honest. This is sort of a hybrid hub. I did think about naming the individual islands at some point, but I thought just because there's a lot of names to get used to, a lot of areas of water, we are not really going to do too much of that right now. This is sort of part of the in between the Eastern Bay, sort of, we're travelling across here, and I think it's all looking good. I'm very happy about it. Now, with that done, let's get some vehicles on the go again, and then we can again have a look and see where we are at. So cargo-wise itself, what are we going to go for? I preferably want a fast boat, but I don't know if they really exist, to be honest. So the fastest we've got 19 miles per hour, though that costs way too much. So we're going to start off with the basic Rigi. I know I'm being very boring in my boats, but it's just nice and easy to start with. So we're going to put a Rigi onto this route, and then that's going to go on our dark green route up to Barra and Forest, which is fantastic. Now the thing is, we're going to be splitting construction materials here at our Longhope depot, so I now need to move a lot more stone. So for that, I think we're going to upgrade the boat. I'm quite happy with a singular boat on here. I'm just going to upgrade that, and then we're also going to need to expand the harbour, probably at Longhope South, to make sure there's just no conflict going on. So that's right now at a frequency of 6 minutes, hence I don't really want to add in a second boat, but I'm very happy to go and upgrade and do a change. So right now currently we've got this vehicle here. Let's think about managing vehicles and seeing what we can do. So let's have a look at the different cargo vehicles we can go for, because I guess I have brushed a lot of them away. So we need to make sure we can move stone. That is our only requirement. We're going to need to go for a higher capacity than 70, that is for sure. So based on the money, I'm quite happy to go for this here, the Klondike, which 90 miles per hour, so it is slightly faster. It was built in 1898, which is fantastic, so it's quite old, quite retro you could say. And then it carries stone, 110 I think should be good. What is the next bracket up? So 130 Schaffhausen actually, that's maybe a bit more tempting. How much extra is the Schaffhausen? So replace for 1 million or replace for 700,000. I'm going to be ambitious and I'm going to go for the Schaffhausen actually instead. So I believe that change will take place very, very shortly. And we can actually have a look at the boat coming in. So yeah, it's already upgraded mid-journey, which is pretty cool. And that means now that we can move a lot of this backlog. 97 there right now, but the thing is that the production rate is probably stalled a little bit at the quarry here, just because of the fact that we haven't moved enough stone. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so that pretty much brings us to the end of the episode now. There's a lot of work to continue to be done on some of the building we've done today. We need to move people around Forest a lot more. We need to move some cargo a bit better. We need to look at the boat route which we have built. I didn't get to do a lot of the other work I wanted to do. I want to start working on these towns in the next episode, connecting them up to make sure that we have a decent movement of people, because we've got roads down here, we've got cars on these roads. But let's take them off, let's put them on our buses, let's put them on our trains, because that would make me a lot of money and would make me a much happier person. Fantastic to see we've got a lot of demand building up here, 47 at this end, which is good, and then from Barra itself we've got 50 people on the boat. Is it profitable? So interestingly, I need to put trucks onto the Forest cargo route, and I'll do that off camera, but we are in the profit initially, which is good. So the frequency is down to 13 minutes. I did think 19 minutes was a bit high and I was a bit paranoid about that. I am quite paranoid about that. Looking at the Longhope to Barra, the Rigi, that's going to take 20 minutes. That does concern me as well, actually. But that's good if it stays like that, and hopefully we can get the bus a bit more busy. We need to, or the boat a bit more busy. We need to support the boat more by buses though, which we've done quite a lot in this episode. We can see Barra, we're carrying 82 people. North End were carrying, near enough the limit as well, so maybe time to look at a bit of an upgrade there, maybe think about a train line, who knows, but we'll do all that in the next episode. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is all for today's live gameplay. And there we have it. So that was quite an interesting build. We managed to get a lot done. The big thing is we have been able to connect up Barra and Longhope, and right now the boat is relatively empty. However, I think it is really going to fill up, and as soon as we improve connections in between Longhope and the harbour, and then from Forest down to Barra, that boat's going to be very busy. It's going to be one of our main movements of passengers, I think, in this series, just going between two large towns. We've also managed to continue to expand our bus routes, adding in a lot more buses. We've also started to move cargo into Forest. That was something I wanted to do at the start of the episode. I did say I want to try provide more cities with cargo, and we're very much on the road to doing so. We can't stop there though, there is still so much work to do. This series is going to go for about 15 episodes over the Christmas period, so let's try and continue to keep up this momentum into the next episode. That brings an end to the episode. Please leave a like rating. Let's try and get 10 like ratings on this video, see if we can try and grow the series a little bit. If you go down into the description and check out my Patreon, Twitter and Discord, links are all down below. Discord right now, it's very active, so come over there, share your ideas and meet some fellow awesome gamers. Shout out to everyone over there, and Twitter is also a great place to catch me as well. The next episode will be out in about 3 days time, so look forward to seeing you then, and that's all. Thanks very much for watching, my name is Bigfoot, and I'm out.